So I have a bit of a nostalgic delight for us to check out here today. This is my Banjo-Kazooie fan fiction from 1998. I can't say exactly whether I was at the tail end of 12 years old or just 13 years old when this was written, because Banjo-Kazooie came out I think around June of 1998, so I would have turned 13 in August of 1998, so can't say exactly whether I wrote this in July or sometime later in 1998. I can say for sure it was within 1998, certainly not after that, because the What's New section on this website was last updated in December of 98. Anyway, but first I should mention this website is not my website. This is the Gobi's, just called Koopa55's Gobi page. This was a Banjo-Kazooie fan page created by someone I knew from Nintendo.com's Insider forums in 98. Koopa55, obviously. Let's see. Welcome to Koopa55's Gobi page. This page is dedicated entirely to Gobi, my favorite character in N64's Banjo-Kazooie. You can see there we have a picture of Gobi the camel, who, for those who haven't played Banjo-Kazooie, you encounter him on occasions throughout the game. He's sort of in the frenemy status. He technically falls under an ally. The villain of the game, Gruntilda, is also his enemy. But he also dislikes Banjo and Kazooie because you keep ground pounding the hump on his back to make him spray water to achieve various objectives throughout the game. So he also happens to... he dislikes Gruntilda, the villain, but he's not a fan of Banjo and Kazooie either. He also dislikes them. But anyway, so this website, interestingly enough... See, I'm someone who spent a lot of time creating GeoCities pages dedicated to video games back in the late 90s, and in future vlogs I'd like to maybe examine those as well. Take a look at some of my old websites, but the thing is that my websites were on GeoCities, so you can access fragments of them still on the internet, but you have to use the the Wayback Machine, Internet Archive, that kind of stuff. Whereas this website, interestingly, and it's still fully online. You do not have to use any kind of backups, any kind of Internet Archive, Wayback Machines, nothing like that. It's I'll throw up the little link to it down in the description if anyone wants to check it out for whatever reason, but it's just koopa55.tripod.com/Gobi, Gobi capitalized Gobi. And that's interesting because GeoCities is all down, but I guess I made the wrong call back in the 90s putting my stuff on GeoCities, because, yeah, it looks like tripod.com websites are still fully accessible. You can still, just never went offline. And we're a quarter of a century later, and this is dusty old internet history, and it is still there, fully available to look at, so that's pretty interesting. I won't make this video about this whole website, because like I said, it's not my website. Someone else made it. Someone I knew from Nintendo.com forums. My Gobi stories, let's see, Gobi's Valley. It's kind of like a little fan fiction where every paragraph is apparently on a new page. Gobi Story 2, Click Cluck Woods. There's also a Choose Your Own Adventure story here, and I believe the person who made the website, Koopa55, drew all these pictures himself. As you can see from these clicked links, I was already browsing around this website, but yeah, I don't want to look too deep into that. Create a story. Here's what we want to look at. Click on the picture below, and here you can see create a story. If you would like to write your own Gobi story and have it posted on the site, email it to me along with your name. Screen names will work at koopa55@hotmail.com. I would be surprised if it's still this person's email address 24 years later, and I'll put it in. Be sure to check back soon. I can get new stories at any time. Warning, if your story contains foul language, overdone violence, or is just plain sick, I'll delete it. So, George R.R. Martin, keep your Gobi fan fiction to yourself. This is an interesting sort of thing that a lot of websites try to do back in this day, is be the fan fiction hub, the fan fiction library, where you send your stories and they kind of curate it to display it. One of the sites I remember being the most successful about this, and I believe that I know for a fact this site is also still in line, is not updated for years and years, but they kept it in line. It was called Icy Brian's RPG page, and I have nostalgia for that one because they had an enormous fan fiction library of Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII, I think like Suikoden, a few other RPGs. I remember being mostly like Chrono Trigger being the big centerpiece, but probably at least a dozen other games, and I believe they had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories, so that was one of the websites I remember being really successful at the fanfiction curation scene. And, you know, I didn't have that long or luxurious a fanfiction career. I don't believe I ever finished anything other than short stories. I made a couple of attempts at doing Pokemon novels that I'll show. I mean, when I say attempts, I mean like real beginner, not beginners in the writing quality. I mean, I got to the beginning of the story. I got through 1% of my novel outline, and I'll probably share those soon. I don't know. I might share them next week. I don't know. Who cares? But yeah, I never finished those. But I did finish a few short stories on the topics of Banjo-Kazooie and Pokemon and a few others. So anyway, I figured this is probably the first fanfiction I ever wrote here. At least the first one that ever ended up on the internet. Let's see, it's over here. It's me. My old online moniker on the Nintendo forums was Blue Moon 007. This introduces a dramatic one from my former enemy, is how this person makes this website describe me. I believe that just means we used to argue on the Nintendo Insider forums. You know, I'd go on there when I was 12 years old, and I would be like, yeah, you like PlayStation, you know. You're stupid. You're probably ugly. So I would just kind of troll people as a 12-year-old who didn't know what to do with my adolescent emotion a little bit. But I think within a matter of like weeks. Back then it feels like a long time, you know, because time is extended when you're younger, but probably it was like a few weeks of trolling. I got bored and just like, alright, let's be friends now. But yeah, so anyway, so Blue Moon 007, that's me. Here's my Gobi story from probably 1998. This might have been as soon as July, so I might have still been 12 when I wrote this, or maybe this was a few weeks after my 13th birthday I wrote this. Anyway. No title for the story. This story was written by Blue Moon 007. As Gobi strutted through the dried-out, prickly reeds toward the lava world, encrusted deep within the planet. Here's my little sidebar. At the end of Banjo-Kazooie, the initial game, Gobi heads off to... Banjo and Kazooie annoy him so many times that he announces he's going to the lava world, and he heads out at the end of the game, and you can't find him anymore in the game's world after that, so that's what this is a reference to. Also, I guess I should mention before I go too into this that Gruntilda, the villain, is a witch who only speaks in rhyme, so that's why I think that's all the build-up we need here. Okay. As Gobi strutted through the dried-out, prickly reeds toward the lava world, encrusted deep within the planet, the surges of heat that drifted toward him made him think that maybe he should have put up with Banjo and Kazooie back in the cool, click-clock wood. Using his tail, he swapped down some of his sweat-soaked fur and fanned himself. Suddenly, a green figure flashed before him, beat up and limping, because Banjo and Kazooie beat her at the end of the game. Gruntilda, Gobi gasped, no paragraph break, as there should be after the dialogue there. Bear and Bird were cruel to you. Would you like revenge? Well, I would too, the witch rhymed off. Gobi looked up and considered for a moment. No! Gobi said, they helped me in the desert. I owe them too much. Gobi said, don't need Gobi said twice there, but okay. Gruntilda's eyes suddenly gleamed with a red, evil power, and Gobi felt fear. Grunty seemed to grow, and said, If you value your life, help me you will. If not, then you will be killed, she shrieked. Again, I don't need and said and shrieked both, but okay, anyway. Let's imagine a paragraph break there. No! Gobi stood up on his hind feet and whacked the witch continuously with his front feet. It's interesting to imagine a camel doing that. She yelped in pain. Ah! Gruntilda grabbed Gobi by his feet and picked him up. Foolish camel, you must know that in the lava pool you go. She hurled him out in a crater filled with thick, bubbling, steaming magma. Ack! Gobi snatched a piece of dried grass with his mouth and desperately tried to pull up. Grunty smirked slightly and threw a bolt of fire. It struck the grass and Gobi slipped further into the lava. Hot steam rising up smoked his fur and stung his eyes. It was a foolish mistake you made back there. Now you face the same fate as Bird and Bear. Maybe that rhyme doesn't quite work, does it? I would cut off the a foolish mistake you made back there. Now face the fate of Bird and Bear, maybe it should have been. Anyway, as Gobi frantically clawed his way to the top of the crater, the witch walked toward him, an evil grin on her ugly, battered face. As she approached the side of the gorge, she peered in. I think gorge is misspelled there. She flinched back as hot steam burned her eyes. As Gobi lost a foothold and pulled further toward the bubbling magma, Grunty pulled her foot back, kicking him sharply in the face. He slipped and pulled into the hole. "No!" the camel hollered. "I'm too young to die." As Grunty pointed at him and a glowing power appeared on the tip of her fingers, she smirked. "You won't live for Banjo-Tooie because..." She abruptly stopped. "Here comes Banjo and Kazooie." "Huh?" Gobi said. Kazooie's squawk echoed down the corridor. "Well, Banjo, I helped you find the lava world. You better be..." "Help!" Gobi cut off the red-crested Breagle. "Huh? What was that?" Banjo said as he ran faster down the corridor. "Gruntilda!" Kazooie squawked. "Gobi!" Banjo yelled at the same time. "Boy, am I glad to see..." "Ack!" Grunty shouted. "Me and the lava world you have found. Now I'll smack you in the ground." Grunty whirled and said, there's my overusing of the said words. The bolt of power she had intended for Gobi, should be she hurled at the two heroes misspelled, smacking Banjo in the chest. He flew backwards, hit the stone wall. Kazooie smacked her head and they were both rendered unconscious. Grunty smirked. "Down into the pit of death you'll go, and your final words will be..." "Your" is wrong there. Gobi reached up, locked his paw around the witch's ankle, and pulled himself up, pulling Grunty down into the abyss. "No!" the witch screamed, as she hurled down to the pit of lava. Gobi, watched, as she hit the lava. She let out noises, implying pain, and sunk. I like that she let out noises, not she screamed in pain and sunk, but she let out noises implying pain and sunk. A smelly green cloud of steam rose up out the top of the volcano. "That's the end of Gruntilda," Gobi muttered. Banjo let out a small groan. "Banjo!" Gobi ran over to the honey bear. "Hey, hump boy, you killed the witch. Not bad for a camel," Kazooie shouted. "Gobi, you're a hero. You killed Gruntilda," Banjo said. Gobi smiled. "All I ask is that you never..." Banjo jumped above Gobi. "Sorry about this." Kazooie's sharp beak lanced out and slammed into the camel's back. "Ow!" he shouted and sprayed water across the surface of the lava, skimming a rock path. "Bye!" Banjo shouted as he hopped across the cooled lava rock, deeper into the lava world. "I'll get you someday!" Gobi shouted. The end. So, let's see. We got about 4 characters who appear here. What does this come out to? The equivalent of like 2 or maybe 3 pages of a paperback manuscript. Yeah, and I just straight up killed off the main villain of the franchise there. Just killed her off just like that. Pretty brutal. Did that mechanic of Gobi's water being used to form a rock path, did that actually happen in Banjo-Tooie a couple years later? I never beat Banjo-Tooie. I can't really say. I guess my Banjo-Kazooie fandom was intense, but it only lasted for the duration of one game, really, because I didn't play too deep into Banjo-Tooie, even though I do own a copy. Never played Banjo Pilot. Never played Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, so I did sample Banjo-Kazooie and Smash Bros. Ultimate. But yeah, anyway, so that is my Gobi fanfiction. Basically just kind of an action scene that results in Gruntilda's death in the magma. But yeah, that's all there is to it. But yeah, it's been fun to explore the world of... I want to explore... this introduces 2 different worlds I both want to explore as one of old-ass websites from the 90s. Both other people's that I might have nostalgia for, and also my own, which I want to show off, and the world of my old 90s fan fiction. And maybe I'll also explore a few other fan fictions that I do remember and have nostalgia for from that time. Particularly the Pokemon scene was probably the one that I read more than any other. That and Chrono Trigger. But yeah, that'll do it for now. Thanks for delving back into this literary masterpiece with me. So I got something pretty special for us here today. Last time I took a look at some of my Banjo-Kazooie fan fiction from 1998. And now I'd like to move on and take a look at some of my Pokémon fan fiction from 1999. Written, I assume, when I was 13 years old. Could have bled in when I was 14. I turned 14 in August of 99. I don't have dates on any of this, but I want to say it's all from 99 because Pokemon Red and Blue came out at the towards the end of '98, and I don't think I bought it immediately. So there's probably a process of me buying it, a couple months me playing the game and watching the anime, then getting into the fan fiction scene. Now, the Banjo-Kazooie fan fiction I read, that was a little different because I wasn't so much into the Banjo-Kazooie fan fiction scene. I was more just into the game itself, and that bled out into a little bit of fandom participation. But Pokemon, I got much more into it. I subscribed, that wasn't the word we used back then. I bookmarked a whole bunch of Pokemon pages, read a ton of Pokemon fan fiction. At some point, maybe I'd want to highlight a few of the ones that I was really into back in the day, like Pokemon Master. That was the creme de la creme. That was the Song of Ice and Fire of Pokemon fan fiction back when I was 14 years old, right? That was the shit. That was the master class. But I tried writing some myself. There's one I know for a fact I wrote. I tried to do probably the most kind of a traditional form for a Pokemon fan fiction to take was just doing a original character and doing the Pokemon journey. You know, having them get a starter Pokemon, go to the gyms, go to the Elite Four. I think probably thousands and thousands of people started their fan fictions as such back in the day. I did one myself. It was either called Ember's Adventure, Ember's Journey, or Ember's Pokemon Journey. I can't remember which. I want to say it was Ember's Journey. My two big twists at the time were I had a female main character, Ember. You couldn't play as a female yet in Pokemon at the time. It was just Red and Blue, so that was a twist of sorts. And she started on not Pallet Town, but Cinnabar Island, I think. And I had a kind of a flame-themed team. I had a whole flame motif on it. I never got too far in that. I don't even think I got up to her first gym battle. At the time, it felt like I worked on it for a long time because I was 13, but in retrospect, I wouldn't be shocked if it petered off at less than 15,000 words, if I'm being perfectly honest. I didn't get that deep into it. I either gave her a Charmander to start, or maybe it was a Growlithe or a Vulpix. Can't remember, something like that. And there was going to be a whole flame motif for the whole thing. But that one trailed off quickly. I kind of lost interest in doing the old school Pokemon Journey thing. And I decided, because my attention got pulled in by Pokemon Master, which was a ninja scroll-inspired, dark, violent, brutal Pokemon fan fiction of the apocalyptic future of the Pokemon world, where everyone had magic powers, was killing each other in the dark Pokemon wars. So that grabbed a 14-year-old me's attention. A little more unsurprisingly, 13, 14, I can't remember. So I want to read some of the Pokemon fanfiction I read that was more directly inspired by that kind of section of the Pokemon fanfiction world. But I'll do that another day. First, this is just kind of the appetizer. This is another Pokemon fanfiction I wrote under the my old online moniker of Blue Moon 007 by the name of Rattata. And get ready for some extreme angst. And let's get right into it. Rattata by Blue Moon 007. I am Rattata. I'm one of the most common, powerless Pokemon in the world. Is this a good thing? It means that expert trainers will have no desire for my capture, but it also means that I am considered perfect prey for beginners. I am Rattata. I've heard stories, horror stories, from escaped Rattata who were captured by beginning trainers. Then, as the trainer's skills advanced, the Rattata was forgotten. Left in a Pokeball to be forgotten. A real, breathing, living creature left in a ball to die. Some Rattata escape to freedom. These Rattata are scared, jumpy at the slightest sound, and twitch uncontrollably as they sleep. Ha! Some freedom. I am Rattata. I sometimes wonder what it must be like to be, say, an Articuno. Sure, every trainer in the world wants to capture me, but do any of them have the skills? No. Suddenly, a beep sounds behind me. A dry, unimpressed voice informs a new trainer that I'm a rat who can use Hyperfang and suck blood and blah blah blah. Jesus! Who programmed that piece of shit Pokédex anyway? Doesn't anyone understand that Pokémon are real creatures too? Living creatures! I am Rattata. The trainer's Squirtle comes at me. Huh. A new trainer. I guess today is the day new Pokemon trainers leave because they want to catch 'em all. Yeah, put a bunch of living organisms in balls to die. I focus energy and quick attack away from the Squirtle's bubbles. Then I leap at it and super fang it into unconsciousness. Ah, Squirtle! The boy shouts. Huh. Beginner. I don't like to fight my fellow Pokemon. Pokemon aren't meant for fighting. Sure, I get into a few fights in the wild. Hell, I even battled a Sandshrew over territory the other day. The living organisms should not be enslaved for combat. I am Rattata. I see the trainer recall his fainted Squirtle into the little death ball as I chase him off. Huh, beginner. I feel myself growing stronger all of a sudden. Power surging through me as my mind and body strengthen. I feel as if I have true power. Suddenly, I realize what Pokemon must do. Eliminate all trainers. Destroy the death balls. Humans and Pokemon can share the world. I must lead Pokemon kind to eradicate all trainers. Eradicate. I shout my new plan to the world. Eradicate! I am Eradicate, and no trainer will ever enslave me. So, yeah, you can see that the teenage angst had fully taken over my mind at this point. I was definitely in a dark place. I don't know, to some extent, I guess I've always been in a dark place in the 23 years and counting since. But yeah, you can definitely see this is truly a fan fiction written by a junior high or maybe early high school student, because I was definitely oh boy, I had some issues that I was working out through a fictional Rattata turned Raticate with plans to rise up against Pokemon captors. But yep, so that's my little that's a little prologue to my Pokemon fan fiction career. Like I said, I unfortunately don't have a copy of Ember's Journey, I think it was called, anymore. I'd read that too, but I do have another fan fiction that I wrote a fair bit more of, not a ton, like more than this little sneak preview I read, called Pokémon Gang, and I'll come back maybe in the next little while and I'll read that as well. I'd end this by saying go catch them all, but according to this story, maybe you shouldn't, because some of them might resent it, so just keep that in mind. So let's continue our journey through the world of my circa 1999 13-year-old written Pokemon fan fiction. Like I said, I had one called, I think, Ember's Journey, about a girl, you know, getting her starter, going on a Pokemon journey, having to go to the gyms and stuff. It's completely lost at this point. I don't have a copy of it anywhere, and no idea where to get it. I doubt it exists anywhere at this point, but I do have a few other stories. This one is by the name of Krabby Perils, and just for a little backstory, this is based... The scenes in this one that include the character of Ash Ketchum are directly based on scenes that occurred in the Pokemon anime that aired in 1998 and 1999. It's the part in between that I made up to fill in the background to make the character of Ash look worse. So let's get right into it. This is Krabby Perils by Blue Moon 007. That's me. I don't want to watch the sunset. I want more Pokemon, a boy's high-pitched voice says dejectedly. I perk up at hearing this. Trainer after trainer has passed me up on account of being too small. A chance to grow stronger may have just presented itself. I chitter as I crawl under his legs, hoping he'll notice me. Wow, it's a Pokemon, he says. Master of the obvious, I see. I hear his Pokédex tell him about me. Then I grimace. This part is always the same. This Krabby sure is shrimpy. Grrr, I think, as I bubble up in anger. Now this one will abandon me too. I feel him prodding at me, making fun of me, I think. I clamp down and he screams in pain and draws back. Showdown time. Tiny or not, you are a Pokemon, and I'll show Misty and Brock that I can catch you. Misty and Brock? Catch me? Did I hear right? Catch me? He makes a feeble assault with a stick, which I could have easily avoided. I allow myself to be captured, and am transported to a Pokémon laboratory. An elderly man, who I learned shortly after was called Professor Oak, takes me. This kid must not be too much of a newbie, at least, if he has more than 6 Pokemon. The professor puts me in a bowl of water to rest. I glance to the side. A huge Krabby, the size of a small Kingler, is in a bowl beside me. I bubble up in anger again. When my trainer, Ash, Professor Oak called him, when Ash trains me, I'll be bigger and stronger than this flimsy Krabby. And I wait. Ash calls on the phone sometimes, and I see his Pikachu with him. It looks powerful. I need to feel that. Thus, I must be summoned for battle. 2 months pass. Ash never once presses that white button in his Pokédex to switch me in. Never. The small amount of exercise I got on the beach is enhanced, though, as I can fight other Pokemon here. These Pokemon are switched in and out by the other pallet trainers. These Pokemon are getting stronger, faster, and smarter. I am not. I begin losing every battle. I stop trying. Professor Oak lets me join him in poetry. Oh joy. Every day it's lunch and tea, just my Pokemon and me, he tells Ash, Misty, and Brock over the phone. They look bored. His Pikachu looks strong. I feel weak. Over the next few weeks, Ash finally makes another capture. A Muck is sent in. This one, however, seems much more goofy, the type that didn't want to get caught, but will flow with it. These disgraces to Pokemon will avoid battle. I challenged it anyway, as it had not had training yet, but this naturally strong one whips me. However, blessing comes with the curse. Professor Oak finally notices my thirst for combat and starts training me himself in his spare time. He calls his grandson and asks for tips. Gary seems very smart about Pokemon. He switches me out all the time. He has 100 or so Pokemon, nearly 70 very fit for battle. A machine tosses out large logs, which I cut in 2 splintery halves before they hit the ground. I am getting stronger. I use Swords Dance and crab hammer apart a metal block. I like this training. I can now actually fight other Pokemon here. I seize this opportunity and develop strategy, training myself, combined with Professor Oak's training and Gary's tips. Gary is now my trainer more than Ash. Ash still does not switch me in. Eventually, Ash comes home. Has 8 badges now, I hear. He and Gary are arguing over me? Why, Gary is insulting me. He helped train me. Check out mine, he says as he lifts a Pokeball and presses the button. A Krabby comes out. The same Krabby I saw back when I was first sent in. I am shocked. This one is trained personally with Gary, and it looks muscular, smart, powerful, ready to fight. Why did Ash have to capture me? Months pass. Depressed, I fall behind in training. Professor Oak gives me what he called TM15 to cheer me up. I have some fun hyper-beaming things, but still, I need real battle. Hold on. Oak is talking to Ash on the phone. Water battle? As I understand, Ash's only water type besides me is Squirtle. He could use another. I stick my head in the monitor. Hey, Krabby'd be perfect for a water battle, Ash says. I am stunned. After a year, Ash is finally battling with me. Does he even know I've been training all along? I am lost in my thoughts, and before I know it, I'm standing out on a platform in the middle of a pool. Don't use Krabby, Ash! It's never been in a battle before, I hear Misty cry out. I smile. So much she knows. Suddenly I look around. A stadium. Water field? Oh my god. I am in the Pokemon League. Oh crap. Am I ready to fight in a league battle? I don't even see my opponent, just sigh waves blowing at me. I jump into the water and psychic power starts ripping me around in circles. Am I fighting a Kadabra? Krabby, return! I hear Ash call. No! I think. I can fight. I dodge the red beam and the announcer goes wild. Suddenly I remember what Oak taught me, and I fall back and pop up besides... Executor. Vice Grip! Now stomp! I hear Ash call. Suddenly I am standing on a fainted Executor. I just obeyed Ash's commands. I feel great. Ash's opponent is really mad. Great feeling. The crowd? Wild. Great feeling. I'm evolving. Great. Huh? I strengthen, my legs grow and I gain more muscle. I grow bigger. One claw grows iron-like and massive. I feel smarter. I am Kingler. Cookie, cookie, I cry out. The next part of the fight is a blur. I know I destroyed a Seadra. Next, a Golbat comes out. Surprisingly tough this one is, but I remember my secret weapon from Oak and fire a high-powered intensified Hyper Beam. Yikes! That is a Kingler's Hyper Beam? I feel like I just fired a nuclear missile. Golbat is very fainted. Ash bounds happily to me and hugs me, congratulating me. He's a nice trainer. Without his command, I may have lost to Executor, but I think my real trainers, myself, Gary, and Professor Oak. But Gary is behind now. I could kick around his flimsy Krabby. The crowd is cheering. For me, Kingler. I've gone from the beach all the way to here. I smile, as much as a Kingler can, contentedly. Life is complete. So, looking at this one up, there's a bit of a satirical element of it, namely the popular in the fandom idea at the time that Ash actually sucks. That was an idea that came into a lot of fan fictions, mine included, as you can see. Thematically, this is very similar to my Rattata fanfiction, which I read last time. Take a look at that if you haven't yet, in that it's from the point of view of a Pokemon discontent with its lot in life. But the character arc, if you call it, is different. In Rattata was a Pokemon who didn't want to be captured, didn't want a trainer, didn't want to fight. This is the exact opposite perspective, a Pokemon who embraces those things but feels ill-served by its trainer. Overall, this one is a little less dark and angsty than Rattata. What darkness is included in it is only really in the context of the anime, kind of making fun of Ash for not being fully cognizant of and respectful of his entire team, and really just focusing on the same few over and over. At least as far as I watched in the first season, because I didn't watch for long after that. But yeah, that is the next Pokemon fanfiction. Next time we'll get to the big one, Pokémon Gang. That one not even remotely close to completed. I had a whole epic novel planned out, like a whole epic trilogy of novels planned out that I, did not come anywhere close to getting 1% of the way through my outline I had in my little 13-year-old brain. But I wrote certainly more than this, so I'll get to that one next time, and that is the Krabby Perils by Blue Moon 007. So we come to it at last, the illustrious and somewhat anticlimactic end of my Pokemon fanfiction writing career. Before I get too into it, I should say that before I pulled this file up on my laptop just a couple days ago to see if it still kind of opened and worked, according to the little last opened little tab under the Finder, the last time I had opened this file, it said June 9th, 2000. Yep, the year 2000 was the last time I even opened this file. So when I opened it up now, about 22 years and change later, I was a little bit shocked to find how little I'd actually written of this fanfic. In my sort of memory, in my mind's eye, I had written more than I actually ever did. I thought surely I had written 10,000 words. No, actually, what I have here is about 2,500 words, or kind of the paperback book equivalent of about 8 pages is all I got through. Before I get too into it, I should mention, so this fanfiction was inspired probably largely by my kind of fanfiction obsession at the time, which was Ace Sanchez's Pokemon Master, which took place in the apocalyptic future of the Pokemon world, inspired kind of by Ninja Scroll and other dark action animes, showing the dark Pokemon Wars, where all the children characters we knew from the anime were all, old grizzled veterans killing each other in massive apocalyptic genocidal wars of magic powers and dark Pokemon. And it was a very influential fanfic at the time. I remember lots of people being very into it. And for what it's worth, give credit to the author, he did finish it. It's a whole novel length, probably like the paperback page equivalent of like 700, 800 page novel. And the author, A. Sanchez, did in fact fully finish it. I did not finish this. No, I only just got started, but I did have kind of a loose outline for what would happen over what was going to be hilariously a trilogy. I did not get even probably a tiny percent of the way through the first book of the trilogy, so to speak. But what was going to happen was that it was going to, my twist I came up with, my kind of idea was that it was going to start as a conventional going on a Pokemon journey narrative. There was going to be catching Pokemon, a group of friends, probably even some gym battles. Then slowly it was going to get kind of turned into more kind of a battle against kind of a vast, all-powerful criminal element, which would eventually culminate in more of an apocalyptic kind of second half of Final Fantasy VI type scenario. But I'll get a little more into that later. I'll not add any commentary as I'm going through this. I'll just read straight through, skimming over grammatical errors and spelling errors. I'll just roll right past them. And then when I get to the end, I'll discuss a little bit about the backstory and future story and lore as it existed in my mind, and what might have happened had I actually written out the hundreds of pages to get through more of this, which I did not at the time. But let's get right into it. Pokémon Gang, Part 1, Rise to Power, by Blue Moon 007. Shivering uncontrollably as the storm continued to brew overhead, Sandslash's hard, glaring expression reflected its trainers as it stared forward, saddened yet furious. Half the wetness spilling down Blue's face was rain, part sweat. Tears, too, perhaps. Lauren clenched her fists, her nine tails in front of her glowing, repelling the rainwater as lightning flew on either side of the precarious wall they stood on. Neo and Ninetales each waited for each other to make the first move, a duel of reaction and spirit. Blue opened his mouth to say something, but he lost his voice in remorse, and he hesitated. "We don't have to do this, Lauren." He got out, his voice finding a spot between the thunderclaps, brushing a wet lock of brown hair out of his eye. "Don't give me that shit, Blue. You understand why this has to happen perfectly well. If only you could contain yourself a little more, maybe the gang wouldn't be completely gone. You and Lode destroyed the world," she shouted, tears flinging. Her long blonde hair was damp, falling back against her red combat gi. "Slash," Neo moaned sadly, looking back at its trainer. Blue shut his eyes, then opened them. I didn't understand what I was doing," he said, voice trembling. "You fucking didn't. Ninetales, Fire Blast." Hold on, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Let's go back to the beginning. Chapter 1, A Quest Begins. A powerful clap of thunder sounded, forcing its noise even over the torrents of rain that hailed the land mercilessly below. Hundreds of feet in the black, stormy sky, safe behind the thick windows of his huge, armored, metallic airship, a dark figure watched the relentless storm unleash itself across the countryside. "The wrath of Zapdos," he whispered, one side of his lip twitching upward. He enjoyed seeing power. Sir," his lackey with red, spiky hair and a rugged yet unserious face topping his lean, muscular form, said. The tall, dark figure, dressed in a black uniform, turned away from the large window now flecked with the rain, obscuring the majestic view somewhat, that looped around the dark, metallic area, showing off the forest dark from the night hundreds of feet below. This view gave him a thrilling, godlike feel. A flash of lightning turned the room bright for a second, as the uniformed figure approached the computer screen, covering the top of what looked like a round table. His man stood by in postural steps. "What is it, Random?" Random pointed at the green graph that covered the table, mapping out cities and towns for hundreds of miles. He pointed on one, and quickly an image sailing over the town appeared, as people and Pokémon walked calmly along a wooded city, minding their own business. The image was recorded earlier that day by their camera, Firo, who often helped them as a spy. "Tripod City," stated Random, the shadowy room echoing his nasal, unserious voice around. "Soon to be our base of operations," the shadowy, tall figure said in his deep, quiet, yet chilling voice, the glowing screen of the table illuminating his hard face, a scar running along one side. "The time to strike is soon." Thunder roared and shook their ship, somehow emphasizing his words. "I wish it wouldn't do that," the tall young man with his longish brown hair that hung over his hazel eyes and an unmuscled build said, sighing. His friend, more muscled, with pale skin and long, light blonde hair, snickered and grinned. "Psyche is used to people liking him. You're the only shithead I've ever known who doesn't like Pokémon, Blue," Chris said, an annoying grin stretched on his face. Blue, walking along the wooded path of Tripod City, with a small, tan Abra tightly clinging to his arm, sighed with a disgusted look on his face. "Yeah, maybe so, but I think they're wrong. Sick. Now, Psyche, if you wouldn't mind getting the hell off," he shouted. the feel of the flesh of the Abra through his shirt starting to creep him out. Psyche the Abra grinned a mischievous grin, looking up at him with the slitted eyes that haunted Blue's dreams. Abra, he smirked, and vanished in a flash of white flare, to reappear on Chris's head. Chris laughed. That's it, kill him, Psyche. He laughed along with the Pokémon, as the dirt and dry leaves crunched underneath the boys' feet as they trudged along the path on the side of the city, walking home from high school. Blue sighed. Man, get a Pokeball for the thing. Chris laughed and punched Blue in the shoulder. Hell no, that's for trading. Psyche's just a homie, he told Blue, putting gangsta emphasis on the last word. Blue raised his eyebrows, deciding to ask a question he had been wondering but avoiding for some time. Why exactly was it you're not a trainer anyway? Chris shrugged as Psyche snickered. Too much work. Oh yeah, and school's a lot better. I mean, I hear the trainers get some fine ladies. Surprised you're not in then, Chris cracked. You can't just resort to masturbation your whole life, he busted, and him and Abra exploded in annoying laughter. Blue raised an eyebrow. If I were to become a Pokemon trainer to get the hot girls, I think I'll be better off with my hand. Must be hard to hate Pokemon in a world filled by them, Chris grinned. You have no idea, Blue said briskly. Said a comical voice, clearly not belonging to Blue, Chris, or Psyche the Abra. What the hell? Blue asked nonchalantly, as he, Chris, and the Pokemon looked down to the dirt path and leaves below their feet. Oh, hell nah, Blue moaned, rubbing the base of his nose as he closed his eyes. Hey, kick ass, Chris said as he kneeled over to pat the small green worm Pokemon who had curiously spoken to them. Psyche leaped agilely from Chris, landing on Blue's head. Blue turned his eyes up, grimacing in disgust, then looked forward into round black eyes as Chris held the Pokemon in front of him. Blue jumped back, startled. What's that, huh? What's that? Chris said, cracking up. Said the worm. Blue breathed in, then sighed as he exhaled. A frickin' Caterpie, he told Chris. Abra. Damn cute, too, Chris told the Caterpie, putting it on the dirt ground again. Yeah, cute like your Abra is, Blue said flatly. Abra leaned over flexibly, looking Blue in the eyes. It slapped him with its large, bulky hand, then teleported over to Chris, cracking up completely with its owner. Blue started to say something, then looked down, dismayed, as the Caterpie crawled up his leg. No, that's all, he cried as he kicked forward, causing the green worm to fly off. Wow! Caterpie cried as it flung through the air, landing on a patch of leaves. It said, looking discouraged. You don't have to be an ass, Blue, Chris told him, smirking. Blue sighed. Look, Caterpie, I don't like Pokemon. That means, you. So, shoo. Caterpie shook its head. Wowie! It cried. Abra, Abra said sleepily, translating to Chris. I think Abra says Caterpie says that it likes you, Chris told Blue. Blue groaned. Oh, come on, that's sick. It's so damn cute, how could you not like it? Chris laughed. Blue looked at Caterpie, who smiled up at him in its Caterpie way, black eyes gleaming. Isn't it weird how life can change so fast? In 1 minute, the Pokemon hater has his own pet Pokemon, Chris said, laughing with Abra. Blue didn't laugh. This isn't funny, Caterpie, he told the bug. A Fearow cawed in the sky. Amusing, those unsuspecting bugs, waiting to be crushed, scurrying about short, meaningless lives, while we, meanwhile, do something of use. The dark, uniformed being said, smirking as he watched the citizens a tripod on his computer display. We move in soon, sir, said Random, checking off things on a list as he leaned back in a padded chair, his feet propped up lazily on the computer table. Forces almost organized. Random's leader, scar shining in the green glow of the display, looked up. Good. I've waited for this moment for years, he rasped, clenching a fist. Now finally mankind shall discover what Torchco has to offer this pathetic world. Assisted by Selfco, Random reminded him, a smirk. Those weak-minded fools shall be destroyed as well. They've served their short purpose. He looked down at the display of Tripod. Tripod City, however, is yet to serve its. The storm moved on. Blue approached the front door of his house. Look, Caterpie, you're not coming in the house, period. Stay out here. Got it? Blue semi-shouted at his unwanted buddy, who squirmed behind him all the way home. Caterpie gave him a sad face. Blue raised his eyebrows. While you're at it, go find another owner, Blue said without showing mercy, as he opened the door, stepped in, and shut it. Blue's mom, shorter than him just a little, with short black hair, looked up from reading something. Who are you talking to? A Pokemon decided it liked me on the way home. It won't stop following me. I told it to keep out, Blue explained. Blue's mother smirked and laughed, knowing very well her son's views on Pokemon. What kind of Pokemon? She requested. Caterpie. Oh, I'd like to meet it, said Blue's mom casually, walking towards the door. Blue made a quick escape. That night, lying in bed, Blue listened. A powerful sounding storm was overhead, rain providing a constant static overhead, and lightning filling the room with the shine of day, followed by booming claps. Blue hoped for a second that his mom had brought his small, green fan into the house, but then shrugged that off, or tried to at least. Damn, am I becoming a pussy? He asked himself. Hell no, he reassured himself, trying to go to sleep. When he got up the following Friday morning for school, the first thing he saw when he opened the door to his room was a Caterpie sleeping there. Oh Lord, he groaned. Random gritted his teeth, sweat beading as he arm wrestled a Machop. Curses found their way into his heavy breathing as he strained, muscles bulging against the power of Pokemon itself. He felt himself slowly gaining. Suddenly the airship lurched, causing the Machop's small body to jolt slightly. Random used this as an opening and took the win. Hell yeah, he shouted as he stood up, raising an arm. Chop, Machop said angrily. Yeah, a cheap victory, but so what? Flukes can happen on the field. Need to be ready to take advantage of any kind of lead that can be gained. If you were in a duel and your opponent's gun malfunctioned, could you wait for them to fix it? They were moving towards Tripod City. Blue's eyebrows were curiously tilted in as he walked towards Chris, who, with Psyche on his shoulder, was walking away, looking over a small card he held with a booklet while he ignored the Caterpie crawling behind him. Yo, Chris! Chris looked up along with Abra. Sup, my G? He said, more of a hello than a question. Why were you in school today, man? Huh? Shut up, Caterpie. Chris chuckled. I thought about what he said yesterday, he began as they continued to walk along the path, going nowhere in particular. About not being a Pokemon trainer, and how it's better than school, and, he continued. Then he stopped his sentence and held out his card to Blue, who took it and looked at it. Blue blinked, and his eyes widened. Official Pokemon trainer's license? Chris smiled. I thought, what the hell, and I already have my starting Pokemon. Abra, the yellow Psy Pokemon said, standing on Chris's shoulder. Blue blinked and bit his lower lip. Man, I didn't think we'd have to split up till college. When are you leaving? Tomorrow. Blue thought this over for a second. He then looked down at Caterpie, up at Psyche, then at the license. Handing the license back to Chris, he ordered, wait there, and ran back the other direction. What the hell was that? Chris said out loud. Abra, asked Caterpie, looking where Blue ran to. Hey, Catter, Chris said, and Caterpie looked up at him. Want to come along with me and Psyche? He asked the greenworm. Ah, said Caterpie, looking disheartened. Blue and me'll keep in touch. You can talk to him then. Caterpie shrugged, not sure what to do, and crawled towards Blue's home. Chris, having said his goodbyes to everyone, with backpack over his shoulder, 2 Pokeballs at his waist, one of which was designated to but not containing his Abra, who was on his head, walked out towards the outer rims of Tripod City, heading towards the next town where he heard there was a Pokemon gym. Suddenly, Hey Chris, dude, wait up, a voice shouted, coming nearer to Chris's location. Blue approached. Chris smiled half a smile. Yeah man, see you and stuff. I'll call you and say how it's going. No you won't, Blue told him. Abra! Blue sighed, his brown locks of hair hanging out over the front of his face, reached into his pocket and fingered out something, a card. He showed it to Chris. Chris tried not to laugh, failing dismally. Official Pokemon trainer? You? Who the hell would have thought? Ha 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 ha! He roared, leaning over. Blue grimaced, remembering the reaction of all his other friends and his mother when he told them his new path in life. Quite similar. Chris looked up. So, are you ever actually going to let Caterpie out of its Pokeball? He grinned. Huh? Said a small voice behind Blue. I, couldn't afford a Pokeball, Blue said. Didn't you get any money from your mom? Mine gave me $1,000. Blue sighed. Yeah, I got some. I don't care about training. Just because I'm a trainer now doesn't mean I don't hate Pokemon still. You can keep Caterpie, he said, scooting the worm forward towards Chris with his foot, not wanting to touch it. Chris picked up Caterpie and put it on his shoulder. Welcome to the gang, he told it. It squealed. Abra, Psyche greeted it. Let's get the hell out of here then. Pokemon trainer, Chris grinned at him. Oh my god, Blue said, rubbing his temples, his backpack hanging behind him, as he and the Pokemon-covered Chris walked into the greenery, out of the town they'd spent their lives in. A computer table was observed. Random laughed as he pointed towards 2 figures, small from the distant sky view, leaving the city grounds. Hey boss, check this out. Looks like a couple kids decided this was a good time to get the hell out of Dodge. The tall being looked over at the display. Fortunate for them. Chapter 2, Sand and Grime. And yep, that is it. That is the end of Pokémon Gang as I wrote it. The prologue and Chapter 1, A Quest Begins. That's all she wrote, as it were. So I guess I'll fill you in on a few things that are going on. So obviously Blue was going to have a character arc where he learned to love Pokemon and became a great Pokemon trainer. I had a big plan. I had kind of a team planned out of what he would catch and what Chris would catch and their other friend Lauren, who they would meet along the way. And I had probably at least a dozen other characters planned out. So Blue's team, I don't know. I can't remember it all now. I don't have any of these written down. I don't have any documents on this. This is all just in my memory, casting my memory back close to a quarter century. The three kind of starring players of Blue's team that were actually going to have kind of characters and a kind of a character arcs of their own. We're going to be this Caterpie we know, who he will eventually call Load. You might remember in the first scene here, Lauren told him, you and Load destroyed the world. Load, that was what was going to be soon. I would bring it to Metapod pretty soon, then Butterfree pretty soon after that. And that was going to be kind of the main Pokemon of his, Load the Butterfree, and that was going to be an important character. The other one, as you can see, Chapter 2 was called Sand and Grime. That was going to have Blue catching a Sand Shrew, I believe it's the first one, Sand Shrew, and Chris catching a Grimer, which would eventually become a Muck and a Sand Slash. The Sand Slash would be named Neo, who we saw in the first scene fighting with at Blue's side with Lauren. The third kind of starring Pokemon of Blue's team was going to be Eevee. It was going to become a Vaporeon. So Butterfree, Sandslash, and Vaporeon are going to be kind of the big three, although there'd be other ones and stuff. So for a while, we were going to follow along the gyms and whatnot, getting a few badges. But then, of course, Random and the Dark Figure, whose name I do not remember. Yeah, but they were going to, so this was a double-layered kind of red herring villain. They were going to destroy Tripod City, Torchco was, and either kill or kidnap Blue's mom, I can't remember which, and that was going to eventually turn them back away from their Pokemon journey to become more kind of fighters and sort of a war. They were going to be sort of there would be like the official military of the country this took place in, but Blue and Chris and Lauren together were gonna kind of found and be the head of what was called the Pokémon Gang, which was sort of a guerrilla strike force unit that would do attacks and battles against these various bad guys as they tried to take back the countryside as Torchco's influence spread outward. That was gonna be kind of what the first book focused on. But okay, so I'll explain first. I think Random, as far as I remember, inspired by the relationship of Emperor Gestalt and Kefka in the video game Final Fantasy VI, where Kefka takes Gestalt's place as the main villain. I do believe that Random, who we saw as the henchman of the Dark Figure, was actually going to be the main villain of at least this book, supplanting the Dark Figure as sort of the main bad guy. And I think he was going to have that Machop turned Machoke turned Machamp as kind of his featured Pokemon. I can't even remember what the Dark Figure's featured Pokemon was anymore. Yeah, I just have no clue. Maybe a Rhydon or something, but I don't know. But that was all just leading up into the future books where somehow, as this war engulfed the country, Blue was going to somehow make a deal with either a demon from hell or literally Satan, like the actual literal like devil. This is all from the imagination of a 13-year-old, so keep that in context. But yeah, and somehow that was going to result in an apocalyptic event that destroyed the world, kind of Final Fantasy VI, second half of Final Fantasy VI style, countries quaking, earthquakes and apocalypse and fire, and as Lauren said in the first scene, you and Load destroyed the world. That was kind of going to be sort of what happened. And Satan, he might have been a demon, but I'm just going to call him Satan because that might have been how I planned it, was going to have a Pokemon team that he was going to battle the heroes with. But he was going to have demonic versions of Pokemon, right? This was kind of Digimon was also going on at this time, where they would add titles to each Digimon's name to make it the stronger form. So, for example, Greymon would become War Greymon. So, piggybacking off that, Satan was gonna have demonic versions, like he would have a Venomoth called like Hades Venomoth or something like that. It was going to be more like, Mothra-sized with like a flaming eyes and breathing fire. And I think I had a whole Satan Pokemon team planned out. There might have been a Golem in there also. Yeah, just various demonic giant kaiju versions of the known Pokemon. And this would happen throughout kind of the second and third books. And I remember the big tragic scene I had planned out was the death of Blue's Vaporeon. That would happen probably at the end of the second book. So book 1 would be this fight against the Dark Figure and Random and Torchco and the establishment of the Pokémon Gang. Book 2 would be sort of this deal with the devil, literally ending in the death of Blue's Vaporeon, and probably Lauren, one of her Pokemon, was going to die as well. Obviously, her featured one would be a Vulpix at first, turned into a Ninetales. Then book 3 kind of would be about the rising up against the demons and taking back the shattered world from evil. And yeah, eventually, of course, Blue and Lauren, as we saw them fighting in the first scene, would come back together to fight Satan. But yeah, that was as you can see, I only got through probably a fraction of 1% of the outline I had at the time, but I'd say it was a learning experience, but it wasn't really. It was just kind of cringe.